to call to the floor, first of all, Professor Kakodkar, who will be the first to give us his views on international cooperation, because he was chairing in particular the session on national projects.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah. Speak close to the mic.
Yeah. Well, friends, I think you will agree with me that we had a very good conference, lively conference, which became livelier in the last session particularly. And but I think let's hope that that really triggers a good discussion. I think we should go to the bottom of this whole debate. I want to begin by saying that we are all people committed to thorium. We are all people who probably resonate with each other. Of course, we have other dimensions of our activities, and so most of this debate arises out of those other dimensions. I think it's important for us to recognize that nuclear energy, having come so far into the progress, having made it's today already 1/6 of the global electricity, it comes through nuclear power. And so I think, I don't think we can imagine thorium to be replacing that just like that. It's not possible. And I think we need to position thorium in the context of some special niche areas that truly belong to thorium. And so in my remarks, I want to begin with kind of reopening this question, why thorium? And I think it's all, we have discussed it n number of times, but let's recognize that there are several issues which have remained unresolved, and I'm not going to read those, but there are several issues which have remained unresolved through the pursuit of uranium cycle. And I think for us, the success would lie in exploring if at least some of those issues, if not all, can be resolved through the use of thorium, and not project thorium as a replacement, at least to start with. So that is the first point I think that we need to recognize. Now, there are, we have discussed, several presentations have been made, and there are opportunities for us in that context. What are those opportunities? I still believe that even in the existing commercial power reactors, and in most of the cases, there are opportunities to introduce thorium with a view to get larger energy value from natural uranium. And one can't say that every time it will become economically relatively more attractive, but there will be cases where it will become even commercially more attractive. And I think we should explore such things. And I did present some of those possibilities when I spoke on the first day. The second important point that we need to recognize is, I think we are all very sort of, we're centering around electricity. And in terms of energy supply for the world, electricity is only a part of the supply. There are there are other forms of energy supply. And when we're talking about climate change, when we're talking about fossil fuel, hydrocarbons, I think we need to be aware that we need to find solution even there. And if nuclear energy has to supply that, you need solutions where you're able to produce nuclear energy at high temperature so that several of those processes can be triggered. And unfortunately, we haven't discussed much in this conference about the possibility of getting nuclear energy at high enough temperature to supply primary energy. And I think you will agree with me, look, because we are aware of the thermophysical properties of thorium. One can, in fact, get nuclear energy at a higher temperature with thorium than what is possible with uranium. And that's an important niche area that I think we need to recognize. Molten salt reactor and accelerator driven subcritical reactor systems have been discussed at depth, so we are all very clear what the opportunities are in that context. Now, I was asked to make some remarks or suggestions in terms of what cooperation one could think of. Now, the first point that I wish to make is, see, unless we are able to converge on a configuration which everybody finds interesting, and we should certainly aim to achieve that, but it's a difficult convergence. But the point to recognize is there are several component technologies, core technologies, and they find a place in different kinds of, call it ADSs, call it molten salt, call it high temperature. You'll find these basic technologies, they find a place. And I think it's easier to reach convergence on identification of such component or core technologies on which one can set up cooperation. Of course, that doesn't take away the importance of agreeing on a configuration of a given technology. If you can do that, that's even ideal. But talking in terms of the talking in terms of the component technologies, I think I have attempted to list several of them here, and one can think of looking at some of them or all of them. The simplest to begin is, of course, assessment to explore specific opportunities with existing system, nuclear as well as thermophysical data for different aspects of thorium. We talked about nuclear data, but I think thermophysical property data set is equally important, particularly when we are trying to deal with different set of materials. Coordinated development of core technologies involved in high temperature energy release, molten salt, accelerator-driven subcritical reactor systems. And there are a host of suggestions listed there. Maybe there are more. But the point I'm trying to mention is it's probably easier to reach a convergence on some of these items rather than reaching a convergence on a formal on a kind of an exact reactor or exact power plant which we can set up a cooperation on. If that doesn't, as I want to repeat, that doesn't mean that we should not attempt. We should attempt that, and if that can happen, it's actually ideal. I don't think I had to read this. Now, you want to set up a cooperation, you need a structure and structure to drive and I get a sense that the International Thorium Energy Committee does have that that interest or the ambition, so that's wonderful. We also need willing participants, and I'm sure the committee would ask the invitation or invite people to participate, and we hope that will grow. We also need an agreed program around which to and that again, I think I have put them in increasing order of the challenge. The simplest is to agree to cooperate at the level of several studies, and several things already happen. At the level of core technologies, as I mentioned, and I listed some of them in the previous slide. And of course, if we can reach an agreement, as I said, then at the level of an agreed system, one can think of. And then, of course, if you want to drive such a cooperation, you require funding. And that's another problem I hope the organizers could tie it up. So I would stop here. I thought I'll just put it forward in this manner for whatever views members may want to express. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kakodkar. So I think we have now 5 minutes to for Professor Kakodkar to take questions and listen to comments on what he just said. Yes?
My name's Ed File. I was just curious as to a number of these are very good ideas of things that we need to do. I just know that it doesn't seem like a portion of the conferences are really used to come to these agreements. So how are you thinking that we are going to come to agreements on getting a number of these? Are these going to be independent people getting together, or is there going to be like an executive committee meeting or something to try to set some of these?
Well, I think that question should be answered more by Jean Perret, not rather than me. I'm not a consensus builder here. Let me clarify. Of course, I'm a very, very interested person in the context of thorium. I spent nearly a whole lifetime. So if something moves forward, I'll be very happy. But in terms of the objectives for this conference, maybe you may like to answer, because that's not for me to reply.
The purpose of this conference was to review the status of the field and to use all the information collected during that conference to think along the line that Professor Kakodkar offered. Do you collaborate first on some components of a system for which you have a common interest, or do you go to a system and so forth? And so the purpose, of course, by just bringing people together, you are already working towards collaboration, because people will know one another a bit better, but that was not the immediate purpose of the conference.
So I think if I understood you right, the specific response would be, we set the thinking process rolling. If a miracle can happen and you can reach consensus, fine, but that's not the immediate expectation.